Alright, let's rewind the clock a bit. It's a typical sunny afternoon in our cozy suburban neighborhood. The birds are chirping, the lawns are neatly trimmed, and the scent of freshly brewed coffee wafts through the air. That's the scene, the picture-perfect facade of our life in suburbia. Now, let me introduce myself. I'm Jack. Just an average guy in his early 30s, trying to navigate this thing we call life. Oh, and did I mention I'm a freelance graphic designer? Yeah, I spend my days cooped up in my little home office, surrounded by a jumble of computer screens and coffee mugs. It's not glamorous, but hey, it pays the bills. Now, on to the leading lady of this story, my wife, Emily. She's the real star of the show. A few years older than me, with an air of sophistication that never fails to impress. She's a nurse, works long hours at the hospital, but she's a real trooper. Or at least, she used to be. Our marriage, well, it was like a fairy tale at the beginning. We were the poster couple for suburban bliss, the envy of all our neighbors. But you know how life has a funny way of throwing curveballs at you? Yeah, it was like someone took a wrecking ball to our perfect little bubble. It all started last summer. Emily got this big promotion at work, and suddenly, her plate was overflowing with responsibilities. I mean, she practically lived at the hospital. And me? I did what any loving husband would do, I picked up the slack. Cooked dinner, did the laundry, even learned how to fold those darn fitted sheets. I was super husband, cape and all. But as the days turned into weeks, I started to notice a shift in Emily. She'd come home from work, shoulders slumped, eyes heavy with exhaustion. And the worst part? She stopped talking. I mean, she used to tell me everything, the gossip from work, her plans for the weekend, even what she had for lunch. But suddenly, she was tight-lipped, like she was guarding some big secret. Now, I'm no Sherlock Holmes, but even I could see that something wasn't right. Our once perfect marriage was starting to show cracks, and I had no idea how to fix it. So, I did what any clueless husband would do, I ignored it. Chalked it up to work stress, told myself it was just a phase. But deep down, I knew better. I could feel it in my gut, like a nagging itch that wouldn't go away. Our marriage was teetering on the edge of a cliff, and I was too blind to see it. Little did I know, the storm was just getting started, and it was about to rock our world in ways we never saw coming. At first, I didn't think much of it. I mean, who wouldn't be stressed with a workload like hers, right? So, I did what any good husband would do, I tried to be there for her, listen to her vent, and support her in any way I could. But man, those fights we had, they were brutal. Looking back, I can see now that she was the one starting most of them. I mean, I get it, stress can make anyone a bit snappy, but there was something off about it. I just couldn't put my finger on it at the time. Then came October, and things took a weird turn. Emily started putting in extra effort with her appearance before heading off to work. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for a woman feeling good about herself, but this felt different. It was like she was trying to impress someone, you know? I tried not to let it get to me. I mean, maybe she was just feeling more confident in her new role. But deep down, I couldn't shake this nagging feeling that something wasn't right. And then there were the nights. Oh boy, the nights. Emily worked graveyard shifts, which meant her sleep schedule was all over the place. But it felt like she was picking up extra hours left and right, always at the drop of a hat. I hardly saw her anymore, let alone spent any quality time together. She used to tell me everything about her day, especially the juicy bits from work. But suddenly, it was like she had a vault around her, shutting me out completely. Our conversations became these surface-level exchanges, devoid of any real connection. It was like she was slipping away, and I didn't know how to reach her. Then, one night after we'd gone to check out a potential school for her daughter, it all came to a head. We had this stupid argument because she never bothered to tell me she was heading into work that night. I was looking forward to having her all to myself, you know? But instead, she stormed out, telling me she was calling in sick. And that's when I knew something was seriously off. Call it intuition or whatever, but I just had this gut feeling. So, I did the one thing I never thought I'd have to do, I asked her if there was someone else. And you know what she did? She looked me straight in the eye and called me crazy, ridiculous even. But deep down, I knew. I knew there was someone else. And that's when the real nightmare began. So, I started connecting the dots, piecing together fragments of conversations, snippets of her behavior, until it all led me to one chilling conclusion: Emily was hiding something from me. I tried to push the thought away, bury it deep down where it couldn't hurt me. But the more I tried to ignore it, the louder it screamed in the back of my mind. And that's when the doubts started to creep in, gnawing away at my sanity like a relentless beast. Was Emily cheating on me? The thought alone was enough to send a shiver down my spine. But deep down, I knew I had to confront her, face the truth head-on, no matter how much it hurt. So, with a heavy heart and a knot in my stomach, I mustered up the courage to ask her about it, to confront her about the growing chasm between us. Little did I know, that conversation would change everything, shattering the fragile facade of our once perfect marriage. Alright, so picture this: it's a typical Tuesday evening, and I'm sitting in our living room, just scrolling through my phone, waiting for Emily to come home from work. She's been pulling these crazy long shifts lately, and I'm starting to feel like I'm more married to her job than to her. Anyway, she finally walks through the door, looking exhausted as usual. But there's something different tonight, something in the air that just doesn't sit right with me. Call it intuition or whatever, but I can feel it in my gut: something's off. I try to ignore it at first, just asking her how her day was and all that jazz. But as we're chatting, I notice she keeps checking her phone, and every time it buzzes, she gets this guilty look on her face. Red flags, right? So, I finally work up the nerve to bring it up. I ask her straight up if everything's okay, if there's something she's not telling me. And let me tell you, folks, her reaction? Not what I expected. She flips out, starts accusing me of being paranoid, insecure, you name it. I'm sitting there, dumbfounded, trying to wrap my head around why she's getting so defensive. I mean, I'm just trying to look out for us, right? But she shuts me down, brushes off my concerns like they're nothing. And that's when it hits me: she's hiding something. And I'm not about to let it slide. So, I press her on it, keep digging, trying to get to the bottom of whatever's going on. And that's when it all comes pouring out: the lies, the deceit, the affair. I feel like I've been sucker punched, like the ground's been ripped out from under me. My mind's reeling, trying to process what she's telling me. I want to scream, to cry, to just run away from it all. But I stay, rooted to the spot, listening to her spill her guts. And as she confesses, I can feel something inside me snap: the trust, the love, the bond we shared, shattered in an instant. I'm angry, hurt, betrayed, all rolled into one big mess of emotions. But through it all, there's this tiny voice in the back of my mind, whispering that maybe, just maybe, we can work through this. So, I swallow my pride, choke back the tears, and try to find a way to salvage what's left of our marriage. But deep down, I know it's over. The trust's been broken, the damage done. And no amount of apologies or tears can ever fix that. It's the end of the line for us, and there's no going back. It was a Thursday night, just like any other. Emily was working the graveyard shift, or so she said. But something about her demeanor when she left that evening didn't sit right with me. There was a tension in the air, a heaviness that lingered long after she was gone. Unable to shake the feeling, I found myself pacing the living room, my mind racing with thoughts of what she could be hiding. And then it hit me, like a bolt of lightning illuminating the darkness. I needed answers, and I needed them now. With a sense of determination coursing through my veins, I grabbed my keys and headed for the garage. There, hidden among the clutter of tools and old boxes, was the solution to my growing suspicions: the AirTag I had purchased just days earlier. I hesitated for a moment, my fingers trembling as I affixed the small device to the underside of Emily's car. It felt wrong, invading her privacy like this. But I needed to know the truth. I needed to know if my worst fears were true. For hours, I waited, my heart pounding in my chest as I watched the blinking light on my phone, tracking Emily's every move. And then, just after midnight, it happened. The signal stopped moving, hovering over a nondescript apartment building on the outskirts of town. A surge of adrenaline coursed through me as I realized what this meant. Emily wasn't at work. She was somewhere else. with someone else. Without thinking, I grabbed my coat and stormed out of the house, my mind a whirlwind of anger and disbelief. I drove with a reckless abandon, my only thought to confront Emily and demand answers. When I arrived at the apartment building, my heart sank. There, parked outside, was Emily's car. The evidence was irrefutable. She had lied to me, betrayed me in the worst possible way. I pounded on the door, my fists shaking with rage as I waited for someone to answer. And when it finally swung open, revealing Emily standing there, her eyes wide with shock and guilt, I knew. But what I didn't expect was to see Derek, her coworker, standing behind her, shirtless and disheveled, a guilty look etched across his face. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. There they were, standing before me, naked and exposed, their betrayal laid bare for all to see. And as the truth washed over me like a tidal wave, I realized that I had a decision to make. I could confront them, demand an explanation, beg Emily to come back to me. Or I could walk away, leave them behind and never look back. In that moment, standing on the threshold of a new reality, I knew what I had to do. Emily's betrayal had shattered the foundation of our marriage, leaving behind nothing but wreckage and broken dreams. I stared blankly at the empty space where Emily's photo used to sit on the mantel, a painful reminder of what once was. It's funny how something as simple as a photograph can hold so many memories, both good and bad. But now, it served as a stark reminder of the life I had lost. Despite the pain and heartache, a part of me knew that I had to find a way to move forward. I couldn't let Emily's betrayal define me or dictate my future. So, with a heavy heart and a newfound sense of determination, I made the difficult decision to end our marriage. The days that followed were a blur of paperwork and legal proceedings, each step bringing me closer to the closure I so desperately needed. It wasn't easy, navigating the complexities of divorce while trying to piece together the fragments of my shattered life. But with the support of friends and family, I found the strength to keep moving forward. As I packed up our belongings and sorted through the remnants of our life together, I couldn't help but feel a sense of liberation. It was as if a weight had been lifted off my shoulders, freeing me from the chains of a marriage that had long since lost its meaning. With each box packed and each memory tucked away, I felt myself letting go of the past and embracing the promise of a new beginning. I focused on my work, throwing myself into my career with a renewed sense of purpose and passion. And as the days turned into weeks, I found solace in the simple pleasures of life, a warm cup of coffee in the morning, the laughter of my children, the beauty of a sunset painting the sky in hues of orange and gold. Sure, there were moments when the pain of Emily's betrayal threatened to consume me, moments when I found myself drowning in a sea of regret and what-ifs. But I refused to let myself be dragged down by the past. I had fought too hard and come too far to let it all slip away. Tuesday afternoon when I received a call from a former colleague, his voice tinged with excitement and disbelief. "Jack, you won't believe this," he exclaimed. "You know Emily's coworker, Derek? Well, it turns out they both got fired from their workplace." I felt a strange mixture of emotions wash over me, surprise, disbelief, and even a hint of satisfaction. Despite everything that had happened between us, a small part of me couldn't help but feel a sense of vindication knowing that Emily and Derek were facing consequences for their actions. As the news sank in, I couldn't help but wonder what the future held for Emily and Derek. Without their jobs to anchor them, would they finally come to terms with the gravity of their choices? Or would they continue down the path of self-destruction, unable to escape the consequences of their betrayal? For me, the news brought a sense of closure, a final chapter in the story of my marriage to Emily. It was a reminder that sometimes, life has a way of balancing the scales, of righting the wrongs and setting things straight. And as I hung up the phone, I couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the unexpected twist of fate that had brought me closure and peace of mind. Because in the end, while the pain of betrayal may linger, it is our ability to find strength and resilience in the face of adversity that truly defines us.